Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table. And we have another really special episode today. This is like, I feel like we're related at this point. This is Gretchen, and Gretchen and I have worked together since October of 2022. So like 2.5 years. Funny story. I worked with her twin sister before working with her. So we're basically just all sisters now, just twinsies.
Yeah. We just add you into our group.
So Gretchen lives in New York, and she has one of the coolest businesses. The business model itself is very cool, but also what she does and who she does it for is amazing. So Gretchen, tell us about you, tell us about your business, and tell us what you do.
I always feel like this is such a loaded question, but I'll try to start not too far at the beginning. So I'm a physical therapist, and I specialize in helping people with multiple sclerosis. And pretty early on, I realized that people with MS have a unique set of symptoms that often prevent them from being able to go into a physical therapy clinic. So I had the highest no-show and cancellation rate in the whole clinic because my clients with MS weren't able to come. And it was all for very valid reasons. And so I remember asking my boss so many times, hey, can I just, talk to them? This was before telehealth was a thing. And so I was like, hey, can I just Zoom with them or call them or help them in some way virtually? And the answer was always no, because insurance companies wouldn't cover it. So I eventually just decided I wanted to do it myself because it was so needed. So I launched an online program that is a membership style for people with MS, where I get to teach my MS-specific approach through exercises and symptom management, and then also bring in other experts that they often don't get to see for the same reasons, because they just can't get out of their homes, or they have to reschedule, or insurance just doesn't pay for it. So I like to give them a well-rounded experience inside the membership.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I've always been obsessed with your business just because like the business side of it is very cool and very fun. And we've done so much experimenting there, but just the way that you serve and just the way that you saw that need and filled it. And obviously that's one of the biggest takeaways when it comes to like success is like solving a problem, and you solve it in such a cool way because you have such a holistic outlook. So the people that are in your membership, they have multiple sclerosis, right? And what are you helping them to achieve with the membership?
The majority of my members are looking to walk better and make their daily activities feel easier. So often with MS is called the snowflake disease because no two people have the same symptoms or the same journey. And there's so many symptoms. But at the end of the day, a lot of people suffer from some level of muscle weakness that affects their walking and their daily activities. And so when you have that level of weakness and fatigue, you start to isolate yourself more because you're not going to be going outside when it's wet, or if it's bad weather of some kind. You're probably not going to go on walks with your family because it's too fatiguing. And so the big goal that most people are working towards is to not isolate themselves as much and feel more confident going out and about doing the things that they did pre-MS.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the cool thing is that it's like you help them to gain strength and to walk better and just really like improve their day-to-day life. But then you also have a really cool component of your membership, which is then like the knowledge aspect where they're learning all about different technologies and tools and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's really cool because everyone needs something different, and which is why my membership is so extensive, just because we've got the exercises, we've got the other experts to come in, we've got resources and tools, and everyone is looking for something different. But for those who are looking for like products to help with foot drop so that they're not tripping as much, or what's another common one? Products to help with lifting your legs. Like we talk about all of it.
Yeah. I love the slip-on shoes that you don't have to bend over to tie or put
I
on.
love,
I'm like, I need those.
I literally have six, maybe 7 pair. It's an obsession at this point.
Like never bending over or tying my shoes again. Could you imagine? It's like a pregnancy. You need those.
Yes. I already had, by the time that I was pregnant, I already had 2 or 3 pair. But then I got pregnant and then I had my daughter. And so that's when I started like really racking them up because it was just so nice. Even now at daycare drop off, everyone just looks at me like, how are you doing that so fast? I got my slip-ins.
Yeah. It's amazing. What's your favorite part of what you do?
My favorite part of what I do is the group calls that I get to host. So I did one yesterday that is a group orientation where I get just to help orient new members to navigate the program. But then we also do one at the end of the month where I answer their questions. And every time I do a group call, at least one person is saying something like the story yesterday was, I just started 3 days ago and I went to do this exercise to lift my ankle and it didn't lift at all. But today, which is 3 days later, my husband got home from work and I showed him and it lifted an inch. And just hearing stories like that, like for MS, that's a huge deal to be able to go from not being able to move your ankle to 3 days later, being able to activate the right muscles and your neural pathways is a really big deal that eventually leads to walking better, walking longer, tripping less. And so I just love the group calls because I get to hear those types of stories live versus an email, which emails are nice too, but it's always so special when I get to talk to someone and hear those improvements.
Yeah, I think it's like when you put so much like love and time and effort into something to know that like it's truly making a difference in the world is so cool. You know, it's those little moments like that where it really does light us up and remind us like why we're doing everything that we're doing. So yeah, it's such a cool program. So
I think part of it too is that so many people with MS have tried physical therapy before, or maybe personal trainer, or just worked out on their own, and it didn't work for them. So they just assume that exercise and physical therapy in general won't work for them because it didn't in the past. And it can if you have the right approach. And so often they might be a little skeptical of how this approach is different from what they've tried. So that just makes seeing those quick improvements even more meaningful because it took them from being a little bit skeptical, maybe a bit of a doubter, but they tried it, they stayed consistent anyways, and it's paying off. They're reaping the benefits from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something else that I think is really important for us to mention is that one of the cool things that you've built is like you have a really big online following between all of your platforms. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to people about marketing, I have to remind them about like marketing is about service. And when I was thinking about just like your business and just from the business side of things that you have done really, really well, it's like obviously consistency in your brand, but also your social media is primarily service. It's exercise videos. It's how to do this. It's how you're like giving this stuff away. And so we'll put your social media handles, especially your Instagram, in the show notes. But I think that anybody who has a business should look to you as an example of like, if you show up and serve, like your people will find you and it will be lucrative for you if you stay in that mindset. And I just think that's something you do really well.
Thank you. Yeah, I started my Instagram page. I knew in the back of my mind that I was going to start a business and this type of membership, but I didn't know any of the specifics. And I just knew if I wanted to do that, I wanted people to trust me first and have value from me first and build that credibility. So I started my Instagram page. I believe it was maybe four to 6 months before I officially like launched my beta group, which led to my full membership.
Yeah, so cool. So tell us a little bit about outside of the business. Who are you?
Outside of the business, I'm a new mom. Can you still say that at a year old? When
It's like the postpartum. It's like the postpartum conversation. Like you're forever postpartum. I feel like new.
Yeah.
I feel like especially under a year, like the first year, you're like, what am I even doing?
Yeah. So new mom. She's about to turn 1 next week, so that's exciting.
Oh my gosh.
I know. she's been such a great baby.
Seriously, the best
Other
baby
than
ever.
that, what's that?
Seriously, the best baby ever. Like, you were
I
given a gift.
mean,
You know that your second one is going to be like a hellraiser, right? Like, you're prepared for
I
that.
do. I do, especially because I was a hellraiser. My twin and I got in so much trouble. And so I was fully expecting to have a baby like that. And she's not at all. She sleeps through the night. She's happy. And I just feel like we do want another kid, but this is just so lovely. This feeling of having a nice, well-behaved first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happening on purpose. So then you're like, oh, this baby's so easy. Let's have another one. And the second one comes and you're like, oh my God.
I have heard that. Yep. And
It's
that was
so
my
worth it
parents'
though.
situation. Mm-hmm.
The siblings. Yeah, I mean, you're so close with your siblings. Obviously, you have a twin. So you know, like, the closeness and like the fulfillment of sisterhood and just like having siblings.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that is important, even if the raising initially is not ideal.
Parenting's hard. I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, it is the hardest job, but being entrepreneurs definitely makes us better parents, and being parents makes us better entrepreneurs for sure. So you're a new
True.
mom. What
I'm a
else?
new mom. I feel like I have a lot of little hobbies. Like I like baking a lot, but more specifically within this last year or so, trying to find really great gluten-free recipes, which has been fun just to play around with baking different things. I like quilting and sewing and crafting and exercising as well. I feel like is a big part of who I am, whether it's like a workout basement or going for walks when it's nice, which is not as often here in Western New York, but I feel like those are things that I really enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. I always love like your hobbies. I actually bought matcha powder and thought of you to like make
Yes.
matcha. So you'll have to send me your recipe because I made it today and it was like, okay. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure Gretchen can do this better.
Yeah, I'll hook you up.
What is a fun fact that people should know about you that maybe they wouldn't expect?
A fun fact. Oh, this one always surprised people when I was doing online dating. And it's that I grew up on a farm with goats and chickens and sheep, no big animals like horses or cows or anything like that, but grew up on a farm. So a big part of my childhood was going to get the eggs from the chickens and feeding the goats hay and doing those after school type chores for the animals.
So cool. I love it. I know when you said that at the retreat, I was like, wait a second, do I know the answer to this question?
Yeah. I guess because it was my normal, I didn't realize that it was unique, but especially, so I went to grad school in Boston. And so that's really where I did most of my online dating when I was doing that. And Boston is not an area where there's many farms. And so it just shocked a lot of people.
I think too, most of us, like when we think New York, we think like New York City. So we're like, there's farms there? What is happening?
Yeah, right.
So you mentioned obviously Nora, and Nora is almost a year. So the last year has been pretty crazy because you had a new baby. And so I want to kind of take us back to the beginning of like where our story began together. So I was working with Samantha, your twin, and then you came to me. And so tell me, like, when we started together, what were you wanting? What were you looking for? Tell us a little bit about the beginning.
I remember vividly wanting two things. I wanted a coach who could help with the work-life balance because that was where I was really struggling. I had built a very successful business by working very, very, very hard, and I never stopped to change that. And so it's almost like it was a habit. And so I had no work-life balance, and I wanted help with that component, which for me felt like more mindset. And then I also wanted a coach that could help with tangible things, like help me with this sales page, help me with this email sequence. Like I wanted both. And from my twins' experience, you were helping her with both categories, which for me, I was like, great, sign me up, I'm in.
So rare to do both, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like our first conversation. So when you think about like where you were, right? So you expressed you're in this place, you had no work-life balance. Take us back, paint the picture for us. What did that look like? How often were you working? How did you feel? What was going on?
Okay, so I had recently moved into my new home and I was waking up to work out around like 6 o'clock and then pretty much diving right into work probably around 7 a.m. Wasn't really taking lunch breaks. If I did take a lunch break, I forgot. And so it might have been 3 p.m. Or I would eat like while I was working, like never really taking breaks. And then doing that, I didn't have any kids. And so I would technically log off of work maybe around 5, but I'd be on my phone responding to messages and continue working and pretty much until I went to bed, like off and on. So there was never really like an off time. And then when I was working, it was a lot of like teaching live classes to 3 people, and just doing things that I had done for many, many years, including just responding to all of these emails, trying to launch new offers, checking in on people. It just felt like there was always something that needed to be done.
Yeah, we know that feeling for sure. How did you feel internally during all this?
You know, it had become the norm for me to work like that I didn't realize that it felt bad until I had my first month. And I remember it was December. I think you and I started working together in October, maybe
Yeah,
November. So,
it
and
was
I
like end
remember
of October,
December
maybe.
just felt, yeah, December felt so light and spacious and free, which made me realize that I wasn't feeling that way, that prior to implementing some of these changes, it just felt like I couldn't take a deep breath. Like I just had to keep going, head down. It felt very heavy, um, urgent, stress, but it was my norm. And so I didn't know that that was a bad thing because I hadn't experienced anything other than that for so many years.
That's such a good point because I think it almost becomes like we disconnect from ourselves to where it almost just it like you said it's the norm, so it's like robotic almost to where it's just this is what I do. And I think that's when a lot of people talk about like their identity is their business, right? Because it's just like
Mm-hmm.
you like you said you wake up and luckily you had like good ingrained health habits and to take care of yourself with working out because a lot of people lose those. But yeah, I remember, and one of the things that was amazing about you, and I think a testament to the results that you've had is like the way that you implement. And I don't know if it was because your sister worked with me first, but you came in so trusting, like you just mentioned, like I think we started the end of October, and then by December, because I remember coming in and being like, we're cutting this, and we're
Yeah.
making your hours this. And usually with a lot of people, I expect resistance. And I think that you just came in so ready, which is also like
Yeah.
such a breath of fresh air for me because that you had that trust and then you did it. And then you felt like you were like, oh my gosh, December, I can actually like enjoy Christmas. This is weird, you know?
Yeah. I remember my older sister was visiting from home and she said that, and I hadn't seen her in probably a year because she lives in LA, so she's far away. And I remember her making some comment that was basically like, you seem like a different person. Like, I don't know who you are. And it was just because she asked me if I wanted to get my nails done at 3 p.m. one day. And I was like, yeah, without hesitation. I just said yes. And she's like, really? Like, she was so taken aback.
Oh my gosh. I remember that conversation and like all the little
Mhm.
wins that we celebrated along the way. And like you've had such great communication throughout this process too. So when you were in that place and you're like in this mode of just like, okay, my life is work. What was that outside of work? Like how, you mentioned like your sister mentioning something about like she didn't recognize you. How is it affecting like your relationships or things? Obviously you were skipping lunch. So that what other things was that kind of that work habit and lack of balance affecting?
It was definitely affecting my health in terms of, I think, just the constant stress that was there. I never really had no stress. It was like normal, like high stress to really high stress and back and forth between the two. And I think that really took a toll on my body. Just like I had so many health related symptoms, literally for like, I just recently talked to one of my doctors and they were like, how long have you been dealing with this? And it's literally when I started this business. It was like 7 years ago. And so
Wow.
it was just so much stress. I was gaining a little bit of weight and just couldn't lose it no matter what I did. I wasn't fueling my body properly other than exercise, like nutrition wasn't there. In terms of relationships, I wasn't, I'm trying to think here, I wasn't really doing anything. Like I didn't really have friends that I would hang out with. Wasn't going out on dates back before I had my husband. Like it was making me isolate myself pretty much on every level.
Mm. That is like
I
one
would
of the
come
most common
home.
things. So
Yeah.
isolating.
And at the time when I first started this business, I had 3 other jobs. I had a full-time job and then a multi-level network marketing type job and worked per diem and then started this. And so it was just work, 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 that it was so hard. Even when I just had my own business, I started working those same hours, but just on 1 instead of 4. So it was just a lot of time in my apartment or in my house, just working, isolating on work.
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting how we create our own businesses so we can do things the way that we want them to, and then we just like recreate a corporate structure?
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing
Yeah.
that? But it just becomes such a habit, and then it becomes and the habit becomes your identity. So
Yeah.
what was one of, if you can remember back this far, what was one of your first big wins or breakthroughs or aha moments, or you could share at whatever point that was like really changed things for you?
I mean, I kind of already mentioned this, but one of the first ahas was really just the entire month of December. Like it wasn't one specific thing, but it was just the feeling that I felt because it showed me what was possible too, versus just feeling like, oh, this is just a quick week that I'm taking off. I remember it was like 3 weeks of just feeling much lighter. Like it didn't have to do work. If I didn't want to, I could, but it could be on my own terms, on my own schedule. I could get my nails done in the middle of the day. So just that feeling of that specific month, I frequently think back on. And now I feel like I'm living that most months. But that, like feeling that for the first time was just like, wow, okay, this is why I keep re-signing up with you. Like I want this to stay. So that was a big one. Yeah. I feel like I want to think of another one. There's been so many. I guess another one, what in the beginning, I was teaching weekly live exercise classes and it felt like I needed to, whether it was for like money or because I promised these people that I would do this. And that was one of the first things that we took away. And we took it away and nothing bad happened. Like, I don't know, just the world didn't crumble and like no one was upset about it. And I was just like, oh my God, I've been bending over backward for these people and they don't even care that much that we're not doing it anymore. Like, this is great. And so that was a big aha moment to like stop and question, are the things that I'm doing necessary right now? Like they might have been in the beginning, but they're not right now.
Yeah, it's hard to make those changes because there's so much fear. And I think one of the things that it's like when you start a business, you're in like scarcity mode, right? And so you're like, okay, I need sales and people and like to make this lucrative and profitable. And then you build it and you build something really successful and you're making all the money. And then you're like, then you have fear of loss. So then you go from one scarcity to another. You go from like fear of like being broke to fear of losing everything that you've built. And I remember having a lot of conversations around like the fear. And I would love for you to just touch on quickly for anybody that feels like, because I love that you brought up that like feeling that you felt of like what was possible and how you finally like felt what like freedom and flexibility could look like. For anybody that may not right now believe that you can have a highly successful, profitable business and have freedom and flexibility, what would you say to that?
It's just blowing my mind that you're asking me that question, like that I'm the one that's in the position that has experienced this. So that's just a really cool question to be asked. Let's see. I mean, first and foremost, I understand why you are feeling that way because you haven't experienced it yet. But if you put the right things in place, I don't know. I guess there's just like this belief that it is possible. Like you always hear people say, like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But it's like there are strategies that you can put in place and ways that you can build that into your life. It might take a bit of time, but it is possible. So I think, and I honestly think part of getting to that is believing that that's the case. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to put the strategies into place. You're not going to do the things, even if it's just like self-sabotage. Like you got to believe that it's possible in order to actually do the things to make it possible.
So true. It's so true. And I think that's the hardest thing when we have like society telling us to work harder, grind harder, hustle harder. It's like these two things. It's like you either have financial success or you have like work-life balance, or, and it's like, that's what if we approach this of like, how do I build both? So you mentioned like, if you put certain things in place in your business, which this is what I love, is like the combination of, and you said it so well, because it's like, you have to believe it, which is our mindset, but then we also need tactical things. What are some of the tactical things that we put in place or changed in your business to be able to create this?
So one thing first coming to mind is email sequences that directly lead to other offers and just different promotions. So making sure that there was like, we're really serving the people who are coming my way as much as possible, even when I'm offline, which I was doing a little bit before, but we just made sure that everything that I was offering had an email sequence, which was nice because that allowed me to work less. So that's always the goal. So there was that. There was definite changes in my calendar. Like we mentioned, I went from 4 live exercise classes to 1 and only offered it inside my group, which made people join my monthly membership. So that was another big change in the beginning, changing how frequently I was doing things in my calendar. I also started using Asana based on your recommendation, just for not even just project management, but just daily tasks, and choosing what task I would do in what time block. Because up until then, it was just kind of a free for all. I was like, great, I have all day. Let's dive into work, but no real strategy around what I was going to do. So being able to clearly plan how long things take me and what do I realistically have time for in my calendar, that was a big change, I think, mindset wise, because I no longer felt bad when I didn't complete anything because I moved it to a different day. Didn't need to be done that day. But it just made me feel more organized and like I was on top of things versus drowning.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there was a lot of like organization and even like pulling back your work hours too, to where it was like, okay, let's pull these back. And like, one of the things that's really cool is if we like fast forward a little bit to now, can you tell people about about how many hours you're working? I think it's really important for you to share what's possible. And like, I love that you spend like your mornings with Nora. So give us some insight into kind of what your schedule looks like and how you're balancing things now.
So, well, and I should say too, as of almost a full year, this has been my schedule and my routine, how many hours work. So since I had my daughter, I've pretty much been working 20 to 25 hours a week, which still just like, I can't believe I'm saying those words. Like that is just so crazy to me. And even though I'm working that much
before,
I mean, honest, off the top of my head, I would guess prior to working with you, 50, 60, once we started working together, because we've been working together for so long, I would say in the beginning, I would say 40 to 45, which I mean is still great. That's a regular workload.
Sure.
Yeah. And then it was a little bit more working up to get ready for maternity leave. Like that may have been like probably more of the 45. But yeah, so now it's 20 to 25, which the cool thing about that is that everything is still running and thriving, even with me working 20 to 25 hours. Like, it's not like I'm neglecting things or my team is being let down or customers aren't being served. Like, everything is still running wonderfully. I'm just working less and so much more scheduled. So I spend my mornings with my daughter. So she wakes up around, she sleeps wonderfully. So she wakes up around like 9 or so. But
You're
we just
making
kind of
everybody
chill.
mad right now.
I know. I hate telling people. I feel like I'm upset people. we get up, we just have very chill mornings. I feed her, we play until about 11, and then I drop her off at daycare. And so I usually get home around 11:30, and we'll typically just like pick up from whatever we were playing with. So I don't really dive into work until maybe 11:45 or noonish, but that's just to kind of quickly check in, see what needs to get done. I have lunch now. So now I have lunch around like 12:30. And then I work really from probably 12:30 to 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go pick up my daughter from daycare, and then it's all about her once she's home.
Yeah, so good. So tell me in this, like, because I think obviously you talked about how like the freedom and flexibility is possible, the reduced hours are possible. Give us some insight, because you mentioned, and I know this, how your business is thriving, right? So like you have continued to grow throughout this process, and like the number of people served, obviously your revenue, all of those things have continued to grow with you being less stressed and working less hours. How do you think, beyond the things you've already talked about, how do you think that that's possible?
Beyond the things we've already talked about. What do you mean by that?
So,
like, what do you have in your mind?
So anything that you would say as far as like, so it's you've created that because that you have more organization now. You have, I would say, thinking about some of the things that you have really changed in like internally in you and in your boundaries and the way that you communicate and the way that you approach things and how you prioritize. So just speaking to like some of the other like changes that you've seen in your business or in you, like because of our work together, and how you think that it's possible that you've built what you've built to continue growing while also not working the hours you were working before.
I think a big change was hiring team members and better communication with those team members. Because when we started working together, I had one full-time employee who was kind of just a jack of all trades doing everything. But now I've got her and another full-time employee and like 3 different contractors, so helping in their area of expertise. And so I think that's definitely one thing that has helped, is getting the right support in place. Obviously, I can't do it all, and it was just me doing it all for so long. So having those people in place, and then also communicating effectively, which, because I had only had the one employee and because we were friends prior to her working for me, I just never really worked on communication. I just kind of talked to her as if we were friends. And when things didn't go as planned, or when we needed to hire for new people, I just did not have the skills. I didn't know what to say to request what I needed or ask for reviews or things. And so you've really helped with helping me understand and view from a different perspective of what situation might be happening, how to communicate that effectively, and then how to get to the solution quicker versus dwelling on what was wrong. So I think that the support and the communication has allowed me to work less hours and still offer these new programs and launches and everything that we're doing to grow the business.
Yeah, it's true. And like that hiring process and figuring out who and when, even in our conversations now, to where like you're continuing to grow and hire. So yeah, I mean, you've mentioned so many different things that we put in place and how you've changed. What would you say are any other like results that you've seen even within yourself, outside of the business, that have been a result of the changes that you've made?
I have two big ones business wise, but I have one personally that I'll share first. And I think so the personal one is that everyone around me, including the people closest to me, like my mom is a big one, but even like my aunt, my friends, everyone says that I look different. My dad even made this is kind of embarrassing, but my dad even made a comment once that he's like, "You're a happier person now. You used to not be happy." But I felt happy. Like, I don't know. I was feeling like life is good. But I just had this constant level of stress, or just like something needs to be done, and urgency. And ever since setting myself up the way that we did for maternity leave and this whole year of having my daughter around, it's just completely changed the way that I view things, the way that I have communications, just like fun conversations with my parents. Like, I'm basically a different person to them, and I'm more lighthearted. My mom constantly is like, "Oh, you have your glow back." Like, I haven't seen that in like so many years. So personally, I feel like that's a huge win, because I feel like I've said this a few times, but when you're in the thick of it, you don't realize those things. So I don't know, like it's kind of like when they say, like, when you're trying to lose weight, like you'll notice before everyone else notices. But like the other people noticing just reassures me, like, wow, okay, this is lightening my load so much that my personality is coming back versus just like work. So that's my favorite outcome that I would say of us working together. Numbers wise and business wise, I mean, I had my best month. Sorry. Well, yes, that's true too. I had my best month and my best year financially, just income wise, during my first year as a mom.
And taking
Can we share numbers?
Yeah, you are more than welcome.
Okay. Yeah. And that was with taking 2 months off, like fully maternity leave, not working a bit. I thought I would want to, by the way. Like, I planned for 8 weeks off, but fully thought I'm going to want to work. There's no way I could stay away for 8 weeks. But I didn't work for any amount of time, and it was wonderful. And I had scheduled launches during that time that my team ran for me. So even when I was out on maternity leave, I want to say, and I didn't look at numbers before recording this, but for those 8 weeks, I'm pretty sure I made an additional $20,000, if not more. It's probably closer to $30,000 just from the things that we set in place. And
so
then
crazy.
Black Friday is usually one of my best months annually. But this year in particular, I like doubled my revenue. And so I made $95,000 in revenue when I was only working 20 to 25 hours, which is just so crazy.
It's insane. Like, when you told me that, I was like, of course. And also, what the fuck?
I know. It is crazy. Like, I don't know. I feel like you get to a point too where you're just used to seeing, okay, like this number of people typically sign up. So you kind of come to expect it. But when you take a step back, it's like, at least here in Western New York, normal people don't make that level of salary in a full year. And I made that in 1 month. And granted, it was revenue. It didn't include like my expenses, but still, like, it was insane. And that was with working less and everything we've implemented.
Yeah. And you have a highly profitable business and a coach who forces you to buy a sauna.
I know. That has been my favorite celebration so far.
You've had some cool ones. I love the little like tent Airbnb thing you guys stayed in. Remember that one? I forget, that was for some big milestone that you hit too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing too, before working with you. Like, I know you're supposed to celebrate. Everyone says that, but like, I just never really did. But yeah, I think my first one which was a Black Friday celebration from the first year that we worked together, I got earrings, which I really loved because anytime I wear them, I now think of that. The most recent one, which was also Black Friday and just the best year yet, was the sauna, which every time I go in the sauna, I think about like the accomplishment that led to this. So I love that one. But yeah, we've gone on some trips, just like weekend Airbnbs and a A-frame cabin. That was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love to see you living. It's amazing. So a couple other questions before we wrap up. You just attended the Founder Circle retreat in Scottsdale. How did you, and that was your second retreat with me. What do you think, how did you feel about that experience in Scottsdale?
I thought it was the perfect combination of relaxation so that you can then have clearer thoughts and also getting work ideas. And it's funny because as you and I talked about prior to the retreat, my main goal was business strategies. Give me things like I wanted, like, business is why I'm here. And I did, absolutely. It was so cool being able to talk to the other business owners who are in completely different industries, give me their thoughts and opinions on a thing that I was working through in my business. But just the relaxation and the connection too was a huge part. And I know they say that that's the case, but I just never believe it. And I always think it needs to be focused on business. But the relaxation gives you that clearer mind to be able to have new ideas and things that you want to implement. So I thought it was the perfect combination of both of those two.
Yeah, it was such a good retreat. It was such a perfect group.
It was.
What was something unexpected that you learned or you've done or you have now because of our work together?
Everything we just talked about. Like, I knew, I honestly, okay, let me think back here. Prior to working together, I don't think I would have ever told you that, like, I knew it was possible to work less and make things more efficient because I was just working so many hours. But I don't know that I would have felt confident saying, yeah, in less than 3 years, I will be working half as much, making double what I'm making now. Like, I knew there was possibility for growth and just business-wise and personally to work less, but I don't think I knew it could be this good, which sounds so funny to say, but like, yeah, just the freedom to feel like I can do what I want with my time. Obviously, I'm still prioritizing my business, but it's not my identity now. I feel like that's a huge win and thing that I'm really happy about.
Wow. Yeah, it's been cool to see you like get back into like sewing and like drooling over your cinnamon rolls and like all the cool stuff that you do. And I'm like, yay, she's a human outside of her work. So good.
Yeah.
And especially with Nora, like every time every day we talk on Telegram, it's always, I get a message from Nora. Nora says hi. Yep. We have our daily chat. So good.
She loves saying hi to you.
She's so funny. I can't wait for her to like talk because I'm going to have like real conversations with her. I'll be like, hold on, Gretchen, I'm going to come back to that question because I need to have a conversation with Nora. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's hard when you go into something because you know what you want, but you bring up such a good point about like, until you really dig into it. And like, I think that again, a testament to like, yes, like we have done this work together, but like you're doing it and you're the one implementing it and you're the one who is like actually trusted and made the changes and like made it happen. And so I think that's really the key. It's just like your members in your membership. If they do what you tell them to do, like they're going to get results, right? And I think it's just a reminder of like, these kind of results are not impossible. It just requires like, it requires change. It requires challenging thoughts. It requires, we've had so many different conversations over like fears and thoughts, and you've been so receptive to all of that. And so obviously I love and adore you and just think you're amazing and think you're changing the world. And also she walked on the runway for New York Fashion Week and she wrote a freaking book. So,
oh my gosh, we've done so much in our time together. Like, I should have been like keeping track of all of these things. It's insane. But I will say too, I feel like the reason that I like dove in head first, I was ready to listen, ready to implement, is because I was at, I don't know that I'd call it a breaking point, but I had been feeling the way that I was feeling long enough where I was like, I know I need a change, and this is going to be that change. My recommendation for anyone listening who is a business owner and you are acknowledging that you are in a similar position to where I was initially, if you can see that it's trending badly, if you can catch it before you get to that point, that's when I would recommend working with Kelsea. Like if I had found you, I don't even know, a year earlier, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten to that like breaking point. Things would have been able to, we would have been able to optimize and strategize and do things quicker so that it didn't get as bad as it was personally, like with how I was feeling and how I appeared to other people. So yeah, I don't know. I think that would be my advice, is if you can see that what you're doing is not serving you, work with Kelsea now before you feel like you have to. I was in a have to situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because there's this, what's the saying? The pain of change has to become, or the pain of staying the same has to become greater than the pain or the fear of change. And I think that's where a lot of people, because truthfully, a lot of people do come to me with at their breaking point. Because I think a lot of people look at our relationship as like another commitment, and they're more afraid of them being able to follow through. And I think that people don't understand of like the way that I will like hold your hand and like walk with you and hold you accountable and like be there for you, because a lot of people don't operate that way. So I appreciate you. If anyone is listening, and you already kind of said this, but if anybody's listening and they're thinking about hiring me, what would you tell them?
I would say do it now before things are even more out of control, because clearly they are interested because they're listening to you. They might have signed up for one of your free offers. Like clearly something's not going well enough where they're seeking you out. So I would say if you're that person, just do it now. Otherwise, if you're similar to me, it'll just continue to get out of hand. But then also, I think realizing too that you are just such the perfect mix of mental and tactical things. I've had other business coaches in the past, and it was all tactical. It was setting things up, but it wasn't at all work-life balance. And so it just made me feed into those poor decisions and habits that I had. Whereas with you, it's the best of both worlds, because you help me with those things that lead to business growth while also working through any limiting beliefs that I have and helping with the mindset. So if you're looking for both, Kelsea's your girl.
I appreciate you. So if anybody is listening and maybe they have MS or they know somebody that has MS, what would be a good place that we could direct them to in the show notes to get started with you?
I would say a good place would be my Instagram page or my YouTube page, because a lot of what I do is video based. It's teaching exercises, teaching symptom management strategies. And so those are the two different platforms, depending if you like longer videos or shorter videos. But I would recommend those two. My Instagram is dr.gretchen and my YouTube is Dr. Gretchen Hawley.
Perfect. We'll put everything in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you so much. You are amazing. I look forward to a zillion years together and just watching you continue to thrive and grow your family and grow your business simultaneously. It's amazing. So thank you again.
Of course. Thank you for all of your help and getting me to where I am right now.
You're doing it. I'm just here to watch, kind of nudge a little bit. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next week.